Malcolm in the Middle's intro is made iconic by a couple things. First off, you have the fire track Boss of Me.
Yes, no, maybe. I don't know. Can you repeat the question? You're not the boss of me now.
It's a track by They Might Be Giants, which you may know them from their rendition of Istanbul, not Constantinople.
Take me back to Constantinople. No, you can't go back to Constantinople.
A song originally released in the 1950s that the guys covered in the 90s, or you might know them from their pretty successful kids music career, where they made the Hot Diggity Dog song, which if you've had baby cousins or children yourself, you'll know it from the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse show. It's the theme song. But my own personal favorite song of theirs has to be The Communists Have the Music.
I got handed an Ayn Rand sandwich straight from the can. It tasted so bland. I asked a lass to pass me a glass of Engels' Conditions of the Working Class,
which honestly is just a really good song and has the most hilarious comment section of all time. And look, honestly, I could make a whole video just going into the history of They Might Be Giants, and at some point, maybe I will. But the second thing though that makes the Malcolm in the Middle intro so iconic is the use of seemingly somewhat random clips in the background of it. And since we were covering it in our shorts, I figured, hey, why not make a long form video putting it all in one place, giving you guys the ease of access to this information of, where these clips come from. And so that's what I'm here to do today. But before I do get into that, I just wanted to let you guys know why there was no video last week. I actually had a video covering the Burning Man episode of the show, a both hilarious and very gross episode where Malcolm basically gets with a 40-year-old when he's only 17. But unfortunately, that video was blocked by Disney, and I tried to re-edit it a bunch of times and I just could not get it past the censors. So I went ahead and appealed it, but it takes 7 days for the appeal, so I'm waiting on that right now. So I hope to get it out as next week's video, but if you guys want to help support the channel and you want to get the weekly members only videos, as well as all future other videos in their original form and early, then you can go over to my Patreon where you can subscribe for as little as $2, and the Burning Man video is available over there right now. But again, if you don't want to do that, then of course you can look forward to it free, hopefully in the next week. My Patreon is patreon.com/smokinsessions, and I'll have it linked in the description. Also, please like and subscribe, it always helps out a small channel like this, and let's go ahead and get back to it. So within the show's intro, there are a mix of clips from Malcolm in the Middle itself, and clips from various other TV shows, events, anime, and old film, looking as if they're being played on an old TV screen. And there's some theories as to why these specific clips were chosen, but we'll circle back around to that later. For now, let's cover the 11 various clips that make up a portion of the Malcolm in the Middle intro. I'm gonna do these in the order in which they appear in the intro. So first, we have 3 guys fighting a giant turtle. This is from 1 million years BC, a film that basically serves as a kinda campy prehistoric rom-com. Basically, a guy gets kicked from his prehistoric tribe and he meets a girl from another tribe, and one thing leads to another. Tale as old as time. But anyway, there's one other clip from 1 million BC in this intro, but we're not there yet, so let's move to clip 2. For the second clip, we have an anime guy standing in the rain with a red headband, and this is actually from episode 3 of an anime called Nazca. There was some debate as to whether in this clip the guy is wearing a hoodie or if it's just his hair, and after looking at the clip, and as you can see here, it is certainly just his hair. So hey, mystery solved. But honestly, I can see why people thought it might have been a hoodie. But this strange anime that released in 1998 is about Incan warriors that reincarnate into modern day Japan. It's a very funny idea, and I've heard from some people that the anime is quite crazy. crazy. Others, though, have said it's boring, so, you know, I don't know who to believe. But nonetheless, there is another scene from this anime that will show up later. But for now, on to scene 3, which is the Kraken rising from the sea in the original 1981 version of Clash of the Titans. You may be familiar with this film due to its 2010 remake and its subsequent sequel, which were both not really that loved. But the remake and the original surround a half-god who attempts to fight some whole gods, and the original is like very campy and fun. For scene 4, we have these women that are in a pterodactyl's nest, and this is actually the second scene I mentioned earlier from 1 million years BC, and funnily enough, it's followed up by the second clip from Nazca, which is a blonde skater dude. This also happened in episode 3, and basically the skater dude crashes into somebody immediately after this. For scene 6, we see a mud monster grabbing a lady, and this is actually from the creature from the haunted sea. Somebody else thought this was the creature from the Black Lagoon, but no, that is not at all what this is. I can only describe the creature from the haunted sea as a strange Scooby-Doo-esque style story, but for adults, I suppose, where basically this guy tries to pull a scam and then kill all of the people that he scammed upon a boat, and then was gonna pretend that a sea monster did it, which just sounds like hilarious, campy fun. For scene 7, we have the burning skier from The Color of Skiing, but generally there's a whole backstory to this one that I'm not gonna cover here because there was a very great video made by @KidLeavesStoop. He basically made a video going into how this was considered lost media for this kind of clip, and then ultimately goes into how he found where it was originally from and got the actual like hard copy to prove it and everything. So yeah, go check it out. I'll have it linked in the description and in a comment in the comments below. On to scene 8, we have Bret Hart putting the sharpshooter on Chris Benoit. This was during a heavyweight championship match in 1999 during the WCW Mayhem pay-per-view, and this sharpshooter was the move that caused Benoit to tap out, leaving Bret Hart as the WCW World Heavyweight Champion. Now, obviously, Chris Benoit had gone on to do some terrible things that he's much more well known for these days, and in the comments, you may actually see some people make name redacted jokes about Benoit, and that's actually a joke aimed at the fact that the WWE intentionally removed all ties in history with Benoit after the unfortunate murder-suicide that he committed. And I do think it is a bit strange that they refused to acknowledge him when clearly the man had some mental issues, probably from some of the mental damage that was done to him in the ring and elsewhere. But so again, if you see anybody saying anything about name redacted, that's why they're making that joke. Regardless of all that though, it is a legendary clip and ultimately is one that you guys seem to pick more than any other one when I ask what's your favorite, which actually right now is a good time to say that. Let me know in the comments below what your favorite one is. I had put a poll up on the channel in the post tab that you can go check out too and vote there, and I'm curious to see under this video what you guys say that your favorites are. Okay, let's move into number 9. So for scene 9, you see a robot head being assembled basically, and this is actually from an old 1960s sci-fi show called Out of the Unknown. It was an anthology series that adapted stories from legendary sci-fi authors, Isaac Asimov for example, or another person they adapted was J.G. Ballard, who I know Ballard for writing Crash, a book and subsequently Cronenberg movie about sexy car crashes. But from Out of the Unknown, the episode this was within is called Liar. However, unfortunately, there was very limited hard media for this show, and ultimately it seems to have been lost to time. There are 20 episodes that have been found, however, the episode in question, Liar, has not been found at this time. So hopefully in the future we see that pop up, but for now it is considered lost media. Scene 10 appears to be a man beating a giant brain monster with a broom, And yeah, that's exactly what it is. This is a moment from The Brain from Planet Arus, a schlocky 1960s sci-fi horror film where basically two aliens are beamed down into Earth being brains. One alien is a do-gooder and the other is quite evil, and basically the evil alien gets beamed into an intelligent person's brain, while the do-gooder gets transported into a dog's brain, which, you know, is unfortunate. It's one of those schlocky so bad it's good sci-fi horrors, and definitely it looks like quite a lot of fun. And finally, for scene 11, we have the boxer accidentally knocking out the ref. This occurred in 1982 during the North American Championships of Boxing. In the match, we see Pedro Cardenas fighting Willie DeWitt, and in the process, Cardenas accidentally knocks out the ref, Bert Lowe's. It's a pretty wild and hilarious moment, and one that I think really adds some flair to the end of the intro.
But then, Cardenas lands his best punch of the night on the referee.
As I mentioned earlier, there are some theories as to why these clips were chosen. The most predominant theory, and also just the one that sounds the most realistic and also requires the least assumptions, is that these are the shows and films that young boys of the early 2000s would have engaged with, particularly when they're in a poor family that doesn't have access to more expensive cable. You'd watch whatever randomly comes across your TV. And for boys of that era, the stuff you'd probably be most into would be a mix of things like anime, old cheesy horror films, and reruns of old boxing or wrestling matches. And generally, this theory makes a lot of sense to me, and I think definitely probably is what they were going for, alongside trying to give a kind of chaotic feel by stringing together these somewhat unrelated clips. And also, not to mention, the song Boss of Me also adds a little bit of a rock flair while also having some underlying melancholy. And it just all comes together in such a perfect way, making everything about this intro one of my favorites. And with the upcoming continuation miniseries, I hope they keep the iconic feel of the original intro. What do you guys think the upcoming intro should be? Also, thank you guys for watching. If you've watched this far, I really appreciate it. You guys have been so kind, and it's also so fun to interact with everybody in the comments, so I cannot thank you enough. If you do like this type of content and you want to see more Malcolm videos, like and subscribe for more content like this in the future. And as I mentioned, you can check out the Patreon, patreon.com/smokin' sessions. Alright guys, my name has been Crazy Rocky, and this has been a Smokin' Session.